friends, it's Miss Dom, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about masks. Your next project is going to be creating a mask. And so to get started, we want to look at some masks. They might inspire us, they might be interesting, but they'll definitely give us a sense of history and a little bit of an idea of what functions masks serve and what masks look like all over the world and throughout history. Now, of course, I am not going to be able to show you every kind of mask from every corner of the earth, from every time period, so of course today is just a sampling. On this first slide, I want you to take a look at the two masks up towards the top of the slide. The No mask is from Japan, and it was made for a particular kind of theater called No theater. The one on the right is an Aztec mask, and this mask was not worn by Aztec people. It was done in an Aztec style, and it was made to decorate a building in San Antonio, Texas. It was for a TV station, so it was actually part of the architecture and the design of the architecture that wanted to give a nod to the Aztec history of the San Antonio region. In this next slide, we see some examples of Egyptian funerary masks. So some of the oldest examples of masks were made as part of the burial traditions of the ancient Egyptians. So looking at these masks, you can see some of them are made of wood. Some of them look to be carved from stone and painted. Others look like maybe made of clay and painted. And then we see this very famous one of King Tut that was golden. So any Egyptians that could afford to have a funerary mask made would try to have one made. And depending on how wealthy you were would depend on what it's made from. So if you were less wealthy, it might be made of wood. If you had a little bit more money to spend, it might be made of clay or carved from a stone. And if you were the pharaoh, if you had untold riches, of course you could have one that was made of gold. But the funerary masks were a very important part of ancient Egyptian traditions. The ancient Egyptians had a lot of beliefs surrounding what happened after you died, and they had particular customs that they had to follow in order to make it to the afterlife. And one of the things that ancient Egyptians worried about is they felt like when their spirit and body were separated, that spirit wouldn't be able to find the body again. And in the ancient Egyptian belief system, that was important. So the funerary masks were made so a person's spirit could recognize and find where they were buried. And because they were so well preserved in the desert in Egypt, they're some of the oldest examples of masks that we have because of the dry desert and the way they were protected and preserved. So we can sort of have a little window into time there. Now, let's take a look at some other kinds of masks that were made for other reasons. The theme on this particular slide is animal masks. When you make your mask, it can be a human mask or it can be an animal mask. That's really up to you. So here are some more examples from around the world. This first one in the upper left-hand corner was made in Vancouver, British Columbia by a pretty cool artist. There is a very rich tradition of mask making and performances wearing masks in British Columbia. These particular masks have a very distinctive style. They're carved from wood. Some of them are what are known as transformation masks, which means the mask opens like a window, and then there's another mask sort of revealed beneath. They often depict characters in the Kitgul belief system or legends, and so they preserve culture and history, and there's meaning behind each of these different, sometimes they're animals, sometimes they're human-like masks with animal features, and sometimes they look more like people. And so these would be worn during a performance. Below that is a Bijogo artist from Africa, and this, you can see, is another mask that would be worn by somebody during a performance. So a big reason for making masks throughout history is that they're oftentimes worn as some sort of performance. So it might be a cultural performance, it might be a play, it might be a festival, it might have religious significance, or it might be telling a story about history. So here is a carnival mask made in Puerto Rico, and that one would be worn during a festival. Here we have a jaguar mask that would be worn by a dancer. It was made for a rain ceremony. So again, the masks were made with a purpose in mind. They weren't necessarily made just to play with or as a decoration. Now, you don't have to have a particular performance idea in mind for your mask, but you may want to start thinking about what the purpose of your mask might be, even if it's not actually going to be worn as part of a performance. It could be a character in a story. It could show a little side of yourself. Up here, this mask is made of bronze, just sort of an unusual material. That one was made in the Zhou dynasty in China. So again, all of these masks, they're made and they all have one common feature, and that is they all have animal qualities. And so some of them have sort of a human-animal hybrid. Some look more like an actual animal, like these two over here. And so as you're thinking about the kind of mask that you want to make, think about, do you want it to be a human type of mask, or a mask that is more of an animal? Is it from a story? Does it represent your culture? How might it be used? All right, and the final slide that I've created shows some masks. One is actually being worn along with the rest of sort of the outfit that the wearer might be wearing. So a lot of the masks we see, they're sort of out of context, but this one you can see it's made by the Bassa people of Liberia, and it's worn on the forehead. So usually when we think of a mask, we think of something that's directly over our face, but in order for the dancer to be able to see what they're doing, you can see there's some fabric below that mask. That's where the dancer's face actually is, so they can sort of see through that fabric and as they're dancing. So the mask is actually above their actual face. And this was worn as part of a festive welcoming dance. So if somebody perhaps went on a journey and came back, everybody would want to welcome them back, or maybe there's a visitor coming and they want to welcome them. They would wear this mask and dance a welcome sort of a festival or celebration. So along the bottom, you see some examples from Mexico of paper mache masks. And so these are a little more along the lines of the kind of mask that we're going to be making. So you can see one has kind of a human face, This one sort of looks like a tiger or a lion. And then over here we have this bird type of mask. And so again, your challenge is to decide how you want your mask to look. Does it have a backstory? What inspired you to make it? And sort of come up with a plan. So hopefully this short history might have triggered an idea, and if not, at least you have sort of a starting point and a little bit of history behind you of masks. And again, this is not every mask or every reason to wear a mask, so you might want to think about other masks you've seen and why they were made. In our society, people often wear masks as part of a party or a celebration, maybe a holiday like Mardi Gras or Halloween, or they might be decorative, something that you would hang on the wall. They might be worn as protection. A lot of people wear masks to protect themselves at work. Today, we wear masks just over our nose and mouth to protect each other from COVID. So there's lots of different reasons to wear a mask, but the one that you're going to make is going to be made with paper mache. And in the next video, I'm going to explain what you're going to need. You're going to need to gather some supplies to be ready to make your mask. So be thinking about how you want your mask to look. Come up with some sort of a plan. And again, this is going to be a paper mache mask. And be ready, and I hope you enjoy making it.